I am so excited to be here with Rolf. Just very quickly, how many of you have used Trivago in the past? Just raise your hands. How many of you have complaints about Trivago still outstanding? All right, Rolf, he's right here. He'll sort them out. Anyway, so we're here talking about the things that you can't stay on stage. We're going to be quiet for the next 20 minutes.
I'm an expert in that.
We're basically just going to be quiet for the next 20 minutes because that's how we do it. Rolf, we as founders, as investors, we tend to lie, omit, perhaps, say things or not say things. We're specifically talking here about what we want to say on stage, but I think so much of that is rooted in what we also aren't supposed to say in our personal lives. I mean, I lied to my wife this morning. I've probably lied about my bank balance to a whole bunch of people. I've lied about the size of my funding round. I see what you're doing there. Whether it's outright lying, or whether it's outright omission, or whether it's just fuzzing the numbers a little bit. How do you think about this? Why do we have things that we can't even say on stage? Why do we have things that we can't even say in the boardroom?
I mean, I don't know in which regard you lied to your wife this morning. Maybe we could explore that more.
She looks beautiful, by the way. Just.
But the question is, for me, is like, why are people doing that, right? Because I would think it's not really efficient, right? I think it's not really efficient for the ecosystem as a whole, right? Because it's information in transparency, right? Right. So in the moment where I'm making up something, it's information in transparency. In the moment where everybody does that, everything is more transparent, and probably, due diligence takes longer. It gets slower, right? So it's obviously for the whole ecosystem it's inefficient. So for me it's kind of a prisoner's dilemma, right? So because if everybody does it and I'm not doing it, maybe I'm supposed to, right? So for me, it's the question why people think that they have to make up their numbers, that they have to make everything a little bit bigger. I'm like lying. Okay, what's lying exactly, right? Yep. And we probably stretched it a little bit.
We all do. We have to.
But yeah, the question is really why we have to do that, or why we seemingly have to do that, right? What do you think?
If we go a step back, and so you've taken a company public, and when you, in the process of doing so, you had a roadshow, you had, and rightly so. I mean, the reason why there are things that you can't say on stage when you are taking a company public is to protect the company, the existing shareholders, to protect the integrity of the system at the same time. But when you go a step before that, so when you're still in the private markets, when you're raising money from investors, imagine yourself, you were sitting on stage and one of your investors who was potentially going to be leading you around was sitting in the crowd. What are the things that you might not have been able to say before they invested, for example?
Me personally, I think I was very lucky that I didn't have to raise a lot. Yeah. So basically, it was extremely lucky that I didn't have to raise a lot of money. But I did a roadshow, right? And I was speaking to investors. And the thing is that it's not a time for self-reflection, right? It doesn't feel like it. So people sit in front of you, and they really are very, very focused on a very, very narrow spectrum of what's interesting to them, right? And at the end, you realize, during a roadshow, you realize that your story gets more and more tailored to exactly that. So when you're speaking to 60 people in 2 weeks, or not 60 people, probably a couple of hundred people, but you have 60 appointments in 2 weeks at least. You talk to them, after the 30th meeting that you have and you tell the same story, you know exactly what they react to, right? And you give them what they want to hear. And it's not about lying, you know? You know what they react to, and then you go for it. I think that is, in one hand, very inefficient in the process, because they don't get the full spectrum anymore. You understand what their triggers are, and you serve their triggers, right? And the problematic thing, the other problematic thing is that you are convinced at the end that you know how to run your company, and reacting to their triggers. And I think that is the even more problematic part of it.
So I spent a decade working in politics, and this is the biggest complaint, that whenever you see a politician on any news show, the news anchor will ask them a question, and then they'll answer a completely different question, right? They have that answer down to a T. And when again, it's a very similar dynamic to what you're talking about, where if you veer off script, if you accidentally divulge information, it comes as a shock. It comes as a, I can't believe he said that. I can't believe his numbers are 19% and not 20%. I can't believe that the politician accidentally promised or did accidentally. But okay, so take an example that's actually happening in Germany right now. They're debating whether or not to remove Elterngeld, the payments given to parents if you earn above a certain amount, right? And all it takes is for one politician to accidentally just slip up and say, "Ooh, yeah, I don't know about that," and suddenly it would be positioned as division within a political party. The media, I think, plays a big role here.
Yes.
How do you speak?
It's not only the media. Yeah, of course. I mean, if you're drawn onto a stage, any other week, basically during a process, an IPO process or whatsoever, or you're dragged in front of a lot of cameras, right? Yes, of course. I mean, you shape yourself. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, my mom. So you get, I totally understand politicians, or today understand politicians way better, right. And I understand why they are way more a role, than they are themselves, because they cannot be themselves, because in the moment where they are themselves on the stage, they get destroyed, and I think that is a problem in our system, because if we go on like this, right, we get into problems because we will not find right solutions anymore. Because the world is complex. Solutions are complex. Companies are very complex things. In the moment where we boil them down extremely, and we think that we have the solution in the simplicity, usually we don't. Right? And I think that's a huge problem. It's a problem of the media, yes, but it's also a problem of how we run our processes, how when we as investors go into companies, how we run this. Because often, I have to say, I'm not so interested in the complexity, because I want to move fast sometimes, right? So I need simple solutions, right? And I go one by one. So if I don't give them that, if I don't open up the spectrum, it's probably also my fault, right?
So what's the solution to that? Just lowering expectations? So this unfortunately is recorded, so we can't really say the things that we would have said on stage. I wouldn't have been able to say, for example, to my partners at the fund that I run, oh, by the way, I was out partying late all weekend. Right? I wouldn't be able to say that.
Yeah, but we all go to parties, we all do, right? And then we are supposed to not say it, right? So we're supposed to not, go on a stage or go into a meeting with investors, right? And we're going to say we're perfect, and we're going to say we're just our role. We're just that functioning little thing. We are not.
Okay.
Obviously, we are not. We're not this functional
Speak for
thing.
yourself.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you are, but that would be very sad. And I don't believe so, because you have a daughter and you're loving dad. So I don't think you are just that, right?
Right.
You are your full spectrum, right? And it doesn't make sense. I mean, we can, of course, exclude that, right? So we can exclude 95% of ourselves, but it will fire back on us.
Okay. So again, how do we solve that? We have 2 minutes to solve this problem.
I mean, I'm currently working on an idea of how to change board meetings, right? And I'm so annoyed like how board meetings are run. I'm not sure if you are. I'm so annoyed because every single board meeting, I listen to people reporting numbers, yeah, for at least 2/3 of the time. What a bullshit. You know, like what, I mean, can we not as investors maybe read through the numbers like half an hour before or make 15 minutes reading time in the beginning or whatsoever, right? That's enough.
Yeah.
And then let's go deeper into the topics that are really interesting, right? And then we have maybe more room that people can show up as their true self because we don't have to listen to boring numbers for like, you know, I'm a numbers guy, don't get me wrong, right? But I don't like them to be reported to me and I don't like to get all this bullshit presentation for all the things that go right all the time, right? Doesn't make sense. I don't add any value there, right? So that would be a start, right? Maybe asking and taking 2 minutes in the beginning of the meeting and asking somebody, hey, how are you doing? How are you here today?
Right.
You know, have you really, you know, are you here in your full capacity? You know, and how can I interpret the information that I get from you right now? You know, because that would help, maybe.
Is there an element of forgiveness that we're also excluding here? Is there an element? So I get that we're saying, okay, let's build trust. Let's make sure that trust is paramount within any relationship. I hate sitting on boards, by the way, because I often change the name of the calendar invite from like, you know, board presentation, blah, 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 to like lie to me hour, because I know they're lying to me, right? Like as an investor, it's like, my first question actually after investing is, okay, now that I'm an investor and I'm kind of invested and I want to make sure that this company succeeds, what do I now need to know that you didn't tell me before I invested? And usually it's like 2 hours of like, oh yeah, I'm not talking to my co-founder anymore, and oh, like, you know, this person's you know, actually, oh, we're actually gonna run out of money a lot sooner than we thought. Oh, we can't control our burn. Oh, our other investor wants to pull out. So you end up finding all these. So that's trust. What else is there? Is there an element of forgiveness?
I mean, I think we don't have another chance, right? We are in it. I mean, forgiveness. I mean, the thing is, you know, I'm in the presence, right? And whatever is in the past, at the end of the past, because I have to deal with making the best out of what is here today. You know, I can speak about it and I can be annoyed about it and totally fine, right? Why not being annoyed? You know, if you're lied to, sure, I think you can be annoyed. It's totally fine to be annoyed.
Okay.
But, you know, looking forward doesn't help, right?
Okay. I want to talk about privilege a little bit, because we come from certain backgrounds. We've already, I mean, you've had far more success than most people in this room, but is it fair for us to say, hey, we should be more forgiving, hey, we need more transparency, we need to have all these elements in place, when actually, you know, we're coming from a position of privilege. We've already done that. We already lied. Like, the first companies we built were 2006, 2007, right?
Yeah, earlier even. 2000.
You were even early, yeah. So, you know, we had our journey, and now are we trying to reset the rules for the young guns that are coming on board? How do you respond to that?
I mean, we're not able to reach anyway, you know. So there's no rule setting in place.
There are no rules.
Right? No, but I mean, like you know, whatever we say now, you know, the question is like, how do people react, right? And no, I mean, they are in their struggles, and they will do whatever they need to be done to make their company successful. But for example, you know, like, you know, it's a question: how can you make founders, you know, that is a way more problematic thing, right? So you said, like, there's a founder, and then he says, actually, I'm not so interested in the business anymore, but I did the founding round anyway, right? Yeah. So why is he doing that? He's doing that, right? Maybe because they you know, they have a wrong perception of themselves and so on, and maybe they couldn't develop that. So we are already, like,
Nico, the Watchmaster, is telling us we're wrapping
cool.
up. So. Thank you again for making the time, Rolf. Thank you to the audience for being here. And look, I mean, Rolf is a very approachable man. I'm not. I have to go. But Rolf is a very approachable man. I'm sure
Don't say that. Don't say that. I'm not, actually.
See, finally, things we can't say on stage. Anyway, just want to thank you, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful TOA experience, and we'll see you around.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.